Hey, yeah, this has been an interesting half an hour. As usual, tell me about sound, video, everything. Yeah, I could see that you can see me, but can you hear me is the big question. Video good, sound good, excellent. What happened was I showed up half an hour early. I actually try not to show up late, and the front door to the office just wouldn't open. So I had to call for reinforcements, and eventually it did open, but I still don't know what happened there. And I just got into the office physically like 5 minutes ago, which is why. Yeah, sound okay, door okay, yeah. Door okay, no, and actually not very okay. I can hear Beatrice calling for help because the something actually did happen to the lock, and I have no idea what. It's a bit embarrassing to start late and also to bother people on their rest day, so that people had to sprint to the office and help. But not much I could have done about it, to be honest. I tried doing everything to that door for like 15 minutes, everything that I thought was legal, and it still wouldn't budge. The key is meant to go to the lock, Peter, and not the cat flap. Yeah, I'm aware of all those fine details of lock opening. I have been doing opening doors with keys for the past 30 years, certainly, maybe even longer. So yeah, still unsure why it didn't open. But yeah, I'm here now. Let's play some chess. Let me just minimize this and keep this open, and we can start. And yeah, seems like everything is more or less in order, so let's proceed with the actual chess. I also, as a disclaimer, I'm keeping half an eye open for what's going on in Oslo, because the playoffs have started, and how do you not watch the playoffs? Obviously, you want to be watching the playoffs there. Not sure about bishop e3. Everybody goes knight g2 in this position, so I am already somewhat confused. I will not really have a great idea about what goes where in this position. I mean, one way of going about things here would be knight a6, knight c7, but it's slow, or you can go for some kind of f5 breaks, but I don't really want to play knight d7 just yet. Yeah, this is... You're supposed to know these things, but I'm somewhat up to date on the knight e2, knight g3 positions, but not really up to date on this. Let's go with the slower plan. Yeah, the whole Aussie story is extremely confusing to me. Not because tampering had been going on. I think, for instance, on my cricket timeline, I have a ton of people followed on Twitter who cover cricket very extensively. On my cricket timeline, I think the general attitude of people who are half sensible is, it really is fairly obvious that it is something that more or less everybody is engaged in to some degree. But that they were doing it so blatantly, that they were so obviously caught on camera, is what is, I think, the most confusing about the whole story. More than, the actual fact of them doing it. And in particular because of how incredibly self-righteous this particular set of Australian cricketers were recently, and the Australian media. I think everybody is currently having their innocent fun. You know, laughing at their misfortune there because of just, you know, just how much. I'm not doing this particularly well, but I will still have counterplay here. There's no immediate way to win anything back, but I have the b5 move, and I will have dark squared compensation. I mean, cricket is an interesting topic, and that was the first thing I've seen in chat, so I will speak about cricket for a bit. Yeah, because of all the, let's say, you know, the amount of stuff that was said during the Ashes about the drinking culture in the England squad and all that, you know, people are obviously now having a ton of fun discussing this story because, you know, glass houses and stones and so on. It's not exactly Schadenfreude, it's just a feeling that, you know, there is some kind of cosmic justice in this happening. And yeah, this was a nice little bit of tactic b9 g4, and I think my opponent kind of ignored it a little bit too easily, and I should be close to winning here. I will return to chess after this. You know, I mean, for me as an England supporter, I can't say I am, you know, horribly distraught at the news from South Africa. Interesting idea, but I don't think he has enough control over the dark squares here for knight e4 to be particularly threatening for me. As Jan and Nelly come in, has Nelly made her appearance on the stream yet?
No.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, Nelly will be the absolute superstar here. That's my quote-unquote key.
Is that how the stream looks?
No, that's not how the stream looks. The stream looks perfectly fine.
Okay.
I made the disclaimer that I will be. I can't actually. I missed the entire previous game, and I'm missing this one as well because I'm still, sadly enough, I'm still paying attention to the chess instead of watching the incredibly exciting playoffs.
All right.
Yeah. So Nelly came and opened the door for me, which is awesome. And yeah, very grateful to Jan and Nelly. Bye. Yeah, and once again, apologies for the late start, and I already apologized profusely to Jan, and yeah, that wasn't ideal, but I honestly tried opening that door before calling in the reinforcements. I should have maybe talked about the previous game a little bit, but yeah, it's gonna be a bit hectic before I get settled. People were demanding gambits. Scotch is not exactly a gambit, but it's first bishop takes d4 and then rook takes f3. Where? I did not really understand that reference. Nelly a toddler and already in a SWAT team. What am I doing with my life? Good question. You should always ask yourself that, Gazbob. Let me check. Maybe I can understand the bishop takes d4, rook takes f3 reference, because I honestly couldn't figure out which position you were suggesting it in. Can you maybe give me a white move this is in reply to? Yeah, Nelly, yeah, trumps Peter, trumps chat, feels bad, man. Nelly is the absolute superstar. There were some questions regarding Karakin and seconds, and yeah, the black books are the выдающийся шахматист мира, and Is my opponent actually pausing for this much, or is the stream hanging? No, I think he made a reply of some sort. This is a kind of a gambit, because black can actually take on d4 here if he wants, but I don't think it's great. I'm trying to figure out if I'm hallucinating or if I've seen this queen g4, queen g3 idea somewhere. It doesn't feel right somehow, but maybe I'm not hallucinating. It's very difficult to tell these days whether things I think I've seen played by good players are just me having some kind of a breakdown, or are they actual things I've seen people play. Will Magnus take Karakin seriously if Karakin wins? I don't think Magnus took him very non-seriously the previous time, to be honest. I think what is possible is that Magnus, having played a long match against Karakin, will have a better idea of how to deal with the challenges that Karakin presents as a chess player. But I don't think it's a matter of him not taking Sergei seriously the previous time. I don't really have anything at all here with white, quite clearly, but the position is still somewhat playable. I would have started with rook b8 in my opponent's shoes, because I think if he goes rook b8 here, I can play b2, b3. And with the bishop on b6 and the bishop on e3 still alive, he would have the queen takes c3 ideas. So I think it was, in terms of making my life a lot more awkward in this position, I think it was better to go rook b8 first. No, nobody is writing anybody off. I think it's a very, very open competition right now, Mudley. But once again, because we're not giving any odds, just as we were saying that, and I actually missed a very interesting opportunity here, but I probably will have it on the next move as well. And just as I say that, the opportunity gets taken away from me. I could have played e5, f5. I can still play a version of it here, but it's less attractive. I will start with bishop d3, but I would very much like to go basically with the bishop on c8. If I go e5, g5, f5, if black plays knight f4, which is the move he wants to make, I can take on f4 and the rook on e8 would be hanging. And I am now re-establishing the same idea, because once again I have two pieces on the e file, and if black doesn't make some kind of a luft, I still have the same tactic available to me. I covered the cricket thing, Kiftir, up to now already, and I don't think I should be doing it like for the entire stream. Doesn't feel right. How much does computer hardware matter in candidates preparation? Well, obviously a great deal. In fact, I think black shouldn't take. I think this is a mistake, actually. I think I'm now doing very, very well. And this is the tactic I kept on talking about, and now, luckily for all of us, I can actually demonstrate it on the board. Because ef4 loses to queen takes e8, rook takes e8, and rook takes e8 mate. And I could have actually done this already here. But here in particular, I think black probably just ignores it, because after g5, f5, this does look promising for white. Although actually, maybe black can just take and play knight f4 and claim he has excellent compensation. So maybe I did it in the right order. Didn't he have queen c6? You mean here? I just go back. I just go back and I end up a full piece up. So, yeah, he had queen c6, but it wouldn't change the result. It is a very nice hoodie. Thanks to Jan, who introduced me to the wonderful world of Nakitano hoodies. And no, I'm not being paid to say those things, sadly. Carlos, we actually spoke, well, not we, Jan actually spoke on the subject yesterday on stream, so I don't mind you posting this link, but I think, first of all, the article is up on the website, and secondly, Jan spoke at reasonable length yesterday on the topic. We had a bit of a discussion on stream. So yeah, we are aware of that situation, and we publicized it a little bit. This is me not being able to read chat properly. People were demanding King's Gambit again, and instead of that, I'm playing the King's Indian. Those two things are not like each other. Yeah, and I used to go knight bd7 here, which let's have some fun. This is the first time in my entire career that I play the mainline King's Indian. This is going to be incredibly funny, I feel, because I really have no idea what I'm doing here. Like, none whatsoever. And I think we were taught that knight e1 and knight g2, black is supposed to reply by the other one. I think if white goes knight g2, which used to be an important move when I was growing up, you're supposed to go knight e8, and after knight e1 you're supposed to go knight d7. But I could be wrong about this, obviously. And yeah, this line exists. I'm aware of it existing, but I have no real clue as to how I'm supposed to deal with it. It's I watched all of the American Ninjas. Okay, let's do something which is clearly wrong. Because why wouldn't we? This cannot possibly work, but I'm in that kind of mood today, so I will proceed with things which clearly cannot work. And I suspect the best way of dealing with this is to play g4, g5 here, either on this move or maybe on this move, just to lock this knight up completely down. Because, as usual in the main line King's Indians, black's biggest problem is this knight on e7, which has no moves. Every other piece you can somehow activate, but this knight on e7 is just a horrible, horrible piece. And yeah, doing something with that knight would be my biggest challenge. And this is why I'm playing g6, g5, which is not a very attractive move to make, but I really, really need to have this knight get access to some squares. Well, everybody mentioned alpha zeros in interviews, but nobody's going to have access to it. Basically every single chess player on earth, I think, after the AlphaZero story broke, was asked, would you like to have access to it? And of course everyone would, but nobody will, so it's a moot point. Yeah, white can put the rook on f5. I'm not taking it, I'm only taking it with the bishop. Basically, if white goes rook f5, I go knight g6, then I go knight g5 anyway, and only then I will take on f5. Because I need these pieces, I cannot... And I think this is wrong. I don't think white had really any reason to panic here. And this only gives white an additional square on e4, but it develops my piece with tempo. It gives me potential further counterplay along the e file later in the game. I could also consider taking with the bishop. I couldn't really figure out which one is stronger. Do I have proof nobody has access? No, but I have common sense. And common sense tells me that Google is rich enough not to sell access to anyone. They don't need the money. And it was basically... Google did it as proof of concept. Google did not do it to actually enter the chess world competitively. They are not interested in that, quite clearly. They did it as proof of concept to... I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I kind of dislike this decision. Yeah, and that actually makes me wonder even more if I should have taken with the bishop. I think white can actually take on f4 here. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. And as mentioned, I don't really like the way I've played the last couple of moves here. It's obviously all incredibly speculative and shouldn't work objectively for black, but that's no reason to make moves I don't believe in myself. Well, I don't think they said that necessarily, but they don't need to say that. Do you know what kind of hardware it works on? Why would you, you would need to have it available as a cloud engine. And once again, why would they be interested in that? giving people free-ish access to not even the Alpha Zero itself, but the hardware it runs on. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Nelly is not short form. I think Nelly is the... Could you draw with white against Alpha Zero once in 5 games? I think the answer is no. I'm pretty sure none of us can, but... no, I think no. I think the reason, let's say, the Kramnik, was it Fritz or Shredder, the one he lost 4-2 again? No, not Shredder, obviously, maybe Junior, yeah. I think maybe it was Junior. The reason this match was reasonably close, and the point I play of Queen e7 here, just to talk about chess a little bit, is if he takes on f4, I have knight e5, g6, and I pick up some pieces. And against this, I was planning to play f3. And I thought I was doing quite well, actually. Google does not hold the hegemony over the direction of top-level chess. I don't think that is even remotely true. Google showed us what is possible in very, very high-level computer chess with access to Google's resources and Google's determination to make something new possible. But once again, it has very, very little practical application for chess players. No, I don't. I mean, seriously, you are. It's very difficult to overstate just how impressive those games are. By the same token, it's very, very difficult to understate just how irrelevant it is to the lives of even top chess players. This turned out to be a nice sacrificial game, but clearly somewhere around here, white has to be doing extremely well. And you just play knight g2. I don't know, knight d5, play some kind of a reasonably quiet move, I don't know. Maybe even h3. And then you go queen d2, rook f2, rook af1. My position looks nice, but I just don't have enough entrance squares. I think it's quite clear that exchange sacrifices like this cannot really work. But turned out to be quite nice. And I think white could just take here. I couldn't really understand why he didn't. If I play queen g5, even queen d2 I think is possible because rook f8 is now a threat. So I have to spend a tempo on bishop h6, then he goes rook f1. But maybe here I have knight g6. Maybe it's not so horrible. But all in all, like... sorry, I should mute the phone. Give me 1 second. Here I started feeling a little bit more confident because, as mentioned, this is a very important tactic. And after queen e7, my position just starts looking a lot more harmonious. I suddenly have some threats, and also I really disliked the idea of giving me the e-pawn. I think it was completely unjustified. Okay. I played e4 once, but I mean, okay, people are demanding gambits, so I will stick with this. Maybe I will get a king's gambit in, and then we can get this whole topic out of the way. Yeah, people who missed Nelly should actually rewatch the start of this show. Okay, no king's gambit for us here. ED4 is obviously a possible line here, but I think these days most people play the old kind of slower knight bd7, bishop b7 type stuff. And here, like g3 allows all this d5 madness. I'm generally very much in favor of playing g3 in these positions, but you have to know some theory in general, but let's go for it anyway. And once black doesn't play d5, this is a very, very good version of all the, let's say, the g3 perts in particular, Pirts. Because black will actually have to spend time to play rook e8, bishop f8, and then possibly even g6, bishop g7. So white gets a g3 reply to the modern / Peerts with a number of extra tempi, and that number is not insignificant. I don't think I won this. I mean, knight takes e6 and d5 maybe even wins material, but what I would like is to show you like typical plans which you could encounter in the g3 periods, because I used to play that a lot as a child. And a very typical plan in these positions involves going h3 and then you go g4, knight g3, and you start pushing on the king side. That's an interesting question, Testicle. Do I know somebody I co-op with regularly? You have to assume I have heard of them at least if I'm a reasonably regular guest on their stream, right? That's an interesting way to formulate a question there. This is not really a bad idea at all, because if I go b3, actually let's go f4, rook f2. I don't want to put the rook on e1. I think it's slightly awkward on e1, and f4 is generally a move you want to make anyway, so let's unpin yourself this way. Well, you can Google these things, stupendous. I think he was Deep Jr. Peter, do you know Jan Gustafsson? I have heard of Jan Gustafsson, yes. Isn't f2 too weakening? No, f2 is not weakening. And I would actually seriously consider playing h5 here if this was my position with black. I really don't like allowing g4, knight g3. What's the most exciting candidates tournament I've seen? I mean, this one is a a decent candidate actually for that honor. Okay, people are saying Kramnik played Fritz, and actually I'm blundering d5 here, and I have been blundering d5 for a while. I assume d5 e5 is good for me, but that assumption is I'm not entirely sure it's true. And I'm slightly sad that it is now my rook on e2 and not the knight, because the knight actually belongs on g3 in these types of positions, and it will be hard for me to get the knight from c3 to g3. But I managed to sort of half force him to trade off a bishop for a knight on e2, so I'm not that unhappy. But it will be, the knight on c3 is a little bit misplaced, because play will generally take place on the king side here. The Tamperer should be punished by keeping that piece of tape in his underpants for 2 years. That is very harsh, Defender. That truly is very, very harsh. We played one game in the Bundesliga, BB. It was an uneventful draw. I'll go b3. I'm slightly worried once again that I will blunder some tactic, but because I couldn't spot any tactics, I will just proceed under the assumption that none are available. And now we've stabilized. The final thing we need to decide on is where this knight is going. It shouldn't be on c3. One possible plan is to play bishop f3, and this probably reestablishes the threat of g4, g5. I'm not playing g5 until I have a good answer to knight h5 here. How did Jan and mine bromance start? I think the first time and this actually is a blunder which loses the game on the spot, which is a useful thing to realize in time, because having played b6, black actually weakened his position to such a degree that he now loses a full piece. I think the first time we seriously spoke for more than 5 minutes was during the Grand Prix in Nalchik, where Jan was Peter Leko's second. And we just got along very well sort of from the very beginning. And once Jan no longer worked for Leko, I asked him if he was interested to look in looking at some chess with me, and we collaborated on chess for a while and remained friends, and then Chess 24 came along. Yeah, we should be winning here, but I'm looking for the cleanest way to convert. I'm not sure I like this move, but it should be serviceable. And after knight e7, I'm planning to do something fanciful, but yeah, I probably shouldn't. Then again, I mean, what is this show about if it's not about me doing fanciful things? Objectively, this is probably just incorrect, but I couldn't stop myself. But it's not incorrect because of this. This is plenty good enough. Because I threaten knight f6 fork, and if he goes queen d1 check, I have rook e1, and the d pawn will just queen, and here I can go simply d takes c7. And yeah, this is just gonna be a queen now. You can see Jan's work in Peter's openings like the Grunfeld. Indeed. Indeed. No, Jan was extremely helpful in like in those years. I was just starting to accumulate, some knowledge in the g4 openings, and I started playing, let's say, the Slav with white occasionally. And without Jan's input, I would not have been able to even start doing all that. And yeah, it's a flashy combination, but first of all, I think black should take on d6 with the rook, and now my knight on c3 is even hanging, so I have to even make some kind of a semi-precise move here. I'm still a piece up, so I should win, but I just couldn't resist going for this queen sacrifice here, because this position is very aesthetically pleasing to my eyes, at least. Why can we not see the players live during candidates? If you mean the video, we do not have access to the official feed, and there are legal reasons for that. This is why I like the regulars. It's so nice to have the regulars show up on stream. Thank you, Evans Gambit. This is fantastic. Also, I have no idea how I'm supposed to reply to f5. This is so great. No, it's moments like this when you really feel like you're part of a community somehow, and it's a very warm and fuzzy feeling. And now I will spend 2 minutes trying to figure out what should I guess be sort of acceptable and really reasonably well-known opening theory. This feels wrong, but nothing else really appealed to me very much. Thanks for playing the King's Gambit again, Peter. Yeah, exactly as you missed. I think I would have played d4. Yeah, I considered d4, but how do I reply to f takes e4? Because black does have queen h4 check coming up. If you mean the piece sacrifice, I don't think the piece sacrifice works. Yeah, no, I mean, I probably am still winning drag around, and this trick with rook d6, rook e7 and queen a8 check is pretty good. I did not see it live. I maybe would have spotted it, but I did not see it. And as for this position, if I play e5, black goes d6 and starts challenging my center immediately. Let's say I play d4, he takes on e5. And the issue is I cannot really take on e5 with the knight, because always queen h4 check. And this looks kind of very, very unprincipled. But I suspect it might not be a bad reply to f5 at all. Because like this position, I definitely like a great deal for white. I don't really care that my kingside castling is overruled by the bishop on c5. I have better development. I can very easily get to castle queenside, my apologies. And I think it will be a much larger problem for my opponent than the kingside that you cannot castle kingside whilst the bishop on c4 is not neutralized. Queen f6, I had bishop... yeah, queen f6 there would have been a good move. I discounted it here because I have bishop e5, and I forgot that this move still exists a move later. Yeah, that would have been maybe a better option than what Evans' gambit is doing. Because here it feels like I should be, I don't know, much better / winning somehow. Maybe I'm overestimating my advantage, but I don't think so. Yeah, maybe I am. Because I really assume this will be just a very, very poor position for black. And maybe he's just in time to go knight c6 and castle queenside himself. Weird that the game is still going on, because in all honesty, I just thought that black now just never gets out of the corner. I don't think this is great, actually. I think this might be a bit too slow. I have a specific idea in mind, which maybe I will get to show if my opponent replies the way I expect him to reply. But I have a feeling this might be a bit too slow. And my advantage could be a lot less impressive than I thought originally. c6, queen f5 I'm not worried about at all. I think black has to play knight c6 and black has to castle queenside immediately afterwards. And I'm still better, but I'm not that much better. And I think you actually should castle here and not play knight f6. This was the position which made me play the entire line, because now the queen is on this diagonal, so black cannot castle queenside, and the bishop is still alive on c4, so black cannot castle kingside. And I obviously don't really care about the e4 pawn at all. At no point is the threat of knight takes e4 going to make me do something I wouldn't do anyway. And for instance, I'm very seriously considering going rook he1 here, but not because I want to protect the pawn, but because I want to play e4, e5 and win. But I think rook he1, knight d7 makes black's life slightly easier, which is why I will start with queen h3. How to set up a position like this one? You should ask Evans' gambit after the game is finished. I wouldn't know the first thing about it, opening king. The big question now is, can black actually take on e4 here and not die? Because if he goes knight d7, I think I win. And I haven't actually refuted knight takes e4, which is, yeah, this is important. The moves I was planning to make in this position, I now realize just don't work. So maybe rook he1 was better. Yeah, this is a lot trickier than I originally anticipated. Because I have to start making some very uncomfortable moves. Like, it's not really that, you know, the pawn on e4 is important. It's just that this bishop was hanging and I had no harmonious ways of defending it. And now knight f2 is a very serious move. Yeah, I've misplayed this a great deal. Because I thought after knight f2 I could take on h7, and I've completely ignored the fact that once I take on h7, black can once again castle queenside. Should have gone rook he1. Yeah. Queen h3 was taking things a little bit too far. This is annoying. No, I don't think this is right. I don't think this is right at all. Because by doing this, you open up more files for me. Basically, doing this just does my job for me for no reason that I could see. And yeah, once again here, like something like this just, I think, wins. You just never open the d file willingly here as black, because it just makes my attack so much stronger. Queen g6 or queen h5 check. I mean, both win, I think. But this is just easier, I think. And I can take here. How does it feel to be the most loved Russian in England right now? Not sure I am, and yeah, considering all the factors that, you know, come into this equation, the bar is not set particularly high. Yeah, people asking for London. There will be no London if I can help it. Trust me on this. If people play the London against me, there is not a lot I can do, but I will not be playing the London myself. A Ponziani. Yeah, we could try. We could try for a Ponziani. My 9-year-old is not a grandmaster yet. I'm desperate. Yeah, acceleration is a hell of a drug. It's been a while since people played this against me, and it doesn't feel all that comfortable, if I'm entirely honest with you. Now I feel a lot better about life. I was actually worried e4, e5 might be quite strong in that position. There's actually still a reasonable amount of theory connected with this position, which I do not remember and never really actually knew, so... No, you made my day, Evans Gambit. When I clicked on that challenge and saw the starting position, I needed that in my day. Yeah. Pufendorf. No, gutted is not how I would describe it. Maybe knight d5 was better. I don't know why I played this move. I'm sort of immediately regretting it. It doesn't feel right. The knights were supposed to be the other way around. And I might end up having to go back and losing like 3 tempi for no reason. And anyway, like it's a thing that will I think very few people would get the reference, even if I tell them where the reference is from. But for me, like it's impossible to think about Stephen Smith. Oh, I can't pronounce words today. Stephen Smith. Yeah, that's marginally better. What's wrong with my pronunciation today? Without thinking of that, I can take the pawn here, can't I? Without thinking of that test match sofa jingle, which went pigs out, pigs out, pigs out, Stephen Piggy Smith. And yeah, that's my immediate association with Stephen Smith whenever he gets mentioned. He is a marvelous player. I mean, I don't think anyone can doubt that, but the pig is still out. People are somewhat confused by my choice of topics here. I can feel the confusement growing. Yeah, and I completely missed knight c5. I should not have played bishop d7 there. Thank God I have headphones on. Yeah, my apologies to all you kind people. Yeah, b6 is just such an ugly move. The bishop gets to c4, and white actually has decent compensation for really no reason. Cricket is not famous in Russia, Purav, but I am generally not your absolutely typical Russian. Knight takes c7 wasn't very good because I would play rook a c8, knight only can go back to b5, and then I take and I win the c5 knight. But I think he could have taken on e5. I don't think this loses. And therefore he probably should have taken on e5. And here I could try actually keeping all of the material. b6 knight takes c7 though, but I'm not that unhappy about it. Because I think I have rook c8 and he has to play knight 5 a6 and then I pick up this. Oh, okay, he has rook d6 there. I missed rook d6 and I'm very annoyed with myself. But maybe I can still play it. He gets a lot of compensation though after rook d6. Yeah, the game should not be this close after I get gifted a central pawn in the early stages. I'm not even better anymore. I have not played this game at all well. Yeah, I'm still okay, but yeah, white is just, I'm sorry, black is just not better. Should also not be worse, but no, I mean, quite clearly a misplayed game by me. I think the way his pieces are positioned, I should have enough counterplay here in all cases. But yeah, this should never have been a position I'm playing after he just gave me the e4 pawn for nothing at all. And here my opponent is kind of trying quite hard to give me a good position again, but I don't know if he will succeed. I didn't like king h2. I think he had to play king f1 here because I would still have to play rook d3. And yeah, no, this is just clearly wrong. I think yeah, my opponent just got confused at some point for no immediate reason, I thought. And yeah, now I'm winning. Now I'm winning again. Yeah, knight c5 instead of g3 was much better. Many moves instead of c3 were much better in that position. Most moves, I would say. g3 was kind of an active blunder. It just gave me a threat where no threat was available to me previously. I think I can do this because there's never enough. There's never enough counterplay. And in this position I can go obviously bishop h4 check and just pick up on e7. Okay, some lower rated challenges. Yeah, that was, my opponent made some mistakes, but there were sequences where he quite clearly outplayed me, so yeah, reasonably well played game by JCT. But then he went wrong. Ah, let's go. Let's go. As I mentioned on stream, I remember nothing at all about this, but it really is no reason not to go for it. No, c5 is the move. Well, sort of. This is also quite fun, actually. This is one of the quieter lines of the whole Slav gambit thing, because after bishop a5, black can obviously play b6, to which I think I'm supposed to reply with queen d6, and it becomes a huge big mess somehow. Whereas here, white just plays for long-term compensation, and he definitely does have very, very good long-term compensation because of how stupid this bishop on d7 is. No, this is not the Vienna. This is the Slav gambit. Maybe I could have played queen d6 also instead. Maybe I'm just doing this like in the most naive way possible. I still quite like my position because, as mentioned, black will struggle to find good homes for his pieces here, and it's very relevant that I'm always controlling the d8 square for rooks here, and this queen on e4 will get attacked more than once. This bishop goes to c3 generally, although I did miss queen f5. Queen f5 is a... but I'm still okay, because I was worried about knight e4 for a second, but the bishop on d7 is still hanging. So yeah, something like this is what generally tends to happen here. These bishops will end up on d3 and c3, and we continue. Like here, it already feels to me like I could be winning, just outright winning, because of just how poorly this queen is placed. Maybe this is once again me being overly excited about a position where I am the side pushing. Yeah, I keep on missing squares. Queen h6 is an important resource. But even if I'm not winning, like the positional compensation white gets in these lines is just tremendous, because black has this collection of unconnected pieces which don't really work very well together. And he is very many moves away from putting them on good squares. I actually would have played c6, c5s there instead of knight c5, because I think getting this bishop away from d7 and putting it on some decent squares is the biggest challenge black faces here. And I think c5, bishop c6 is a much more important thing to care about here. And also knight c5 now, as you can see, allowed me this double attack, which I suspect my opponent has missed. And now I'm just winning because I will take on f8, and you know, it's basically the same position, but I am now up material instead of down material. And thanks to Cheche, because yeah, this is a topical line, and no, the main craziness I think starts somewhere around here, and there are some really, really weird lines here. For instance, I think at some point they started even doing this. Then queen d8 check is threatened, you go f6, f4, and then queen goes somewhere. Black gives up this rook on a8, maybe queen e5 or something. Is that the line? And then you just go knight e7 here. Or something very similar, anyway. Maybe knight c5 to stop queen e4. Actually, this makes more sense to me. Start with knight c5 and then go knight e7. And yeah, these positions get incredibly messy because of... now we actually want some material with white, but it will not be easy to consolidate. Yeah, very, very interesting line, which, as we mentioned on air when the when the Caruana Kramnik game was going on, you basically cannot play this line with either color if you haven't repeated all the variations very, very recently. Do I think the winner in this candidates will dethrone Carlsen? Well, I think Carlsen starts as favorite against anyone who qualifies, but whoever qualifies will have a chance. Considering the fact that I think I know who this is, how are you rated 2292, Beast? That doesn't feel right. That feels that there is like some sandbagging going on. I'm playing against somebody I would not be entirely sure I'd be all that much favored in a blitz match in sort of live over the board, and he is rated. I used to play f3 here, but f4 objectively probably is a little bit more critical. But yeah, I'll stick with what I like in these positions, which is f3. And what I used to dislike about this setup is that black can play h6 followed by h5. I think this is the way to go here. Yeah, this is exactly... I've had games like this ages and ages ago. In particular, Ruslan Sherbakov, who I think worked with the Indian players at some point, was a pioneer of this idea of playing h6, h5. And I think in a game against him, I actually took on c6 to avoid allowing the knight to land on e5 in a position like this, which I'm now kind of already regretting not doing in this game. Yeah, if Ding got his win 2 days ago, he would be in the shared lead. And if Fabi found knight f8 check and h6, Ding would be in the minus and Fabi would be on +4. I don't really know exactly how this phrase sounds in English, but there is a very famous saying in the Russian language that history doesn't know the ifs. History only knows the facts. And it's absolutely pointless to discuss what would have happened had Ding won the game against Grishuk. There were, by this point, so many games in this tournament which could have ended in a different result that, you know, choosing this one and sticking with it feels like a very arbitrary way of discussing the tournament situation right now. I think I have to play f4. I have a feeling I will not enjoy it very much, but without f4 I just don't really understand what I'm doing in this position. If he goes knight c4, I will have to take, and then I will have to go king a1, rook b1. And I think it's very, very possible to just get outright mated in a position like that. So yeah, I am not really... This comes very much under the heading of don't try this at home, kids. Yeah, for instance, that Pufendorf, but there's a more printable saying on the subject, which I was referring to. I would very much like to push for e5, but the problem with e5 is that it opens the e7 bishop. And if I open the e7 bishop, I think I will, like, some kind of bishop takes a3, queen a5, and mate will happen to me, more or less straight away, which I am not in favor of. So I will try to mix it up here. Well, I didn't de-anonymize Beast. I just said that I have a feeling I know who that is. That doesn't really count as doxing, I think, right? Yeah, people writing in all caps and saying that they challenged me when they're not premium is generally not the way to go. I'm already feeling slightly better about my life here when the queen is on b7, because I was much more worried about some kind of a setup where the queen goes to a5 and then black goes d6, d5 and gives mate. With the queen on b7, I have a feeling that plans connected with d6, d5 will be a lot harder for my opponent to put into action. And here I'm actually making some progress on the other side of the board, which is frankly surprising. I did not really expect that my, well, hack attack, I think would be a fair way of describing it, on the king side will get anywhere at all. I probably should not have allowed knight takes e4. I just clean ignored that it existed, and it's going to bite me in the unmentionables. I still have a reasonably playable position here, because I think I will be able to protect the queen side comfortably. Okay, this now confuses me greatly, Azure Mist. Because I have only given that recommendation to one person. And I am reasonably sure you are not that person. So yeah. Who are you and why are you saying these things to me? Yeah, I think I've solved my queenside issues for the time being, so I will continue pushing on the other side of the board. And basically, I feel like I should be giving away those pawns to have threats, which is what I am now trying to do. Just force black to deal with those pawns somehow. I will pick up on d6 because once again, this game might eventually be an endgame of some sort. And if it becomes an endgame of some sort, I'm definitely not against the idea of having extra pawns on the queen side, in principle. But I'm not going to take on a6 because, as usual in these types of positions, it feels awkward to me to go for material when I can try to go for mate. But I honestly think this endgame might just be winning now, so I will go for it. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was so great. I thought I could play rook bf1 here, but that is wildly optimistic. Yeah, that was just a mistake. That was just a mistake. Maybe I can do it this way, but I generally should not have just gone for this at all. It's just not right. For instance, he has rook b1 check here with very, very good drawing chances. This I like. Actually, this just draws. Yeah, this, well, does it? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. This probably is winning for me now. Especially if I play fast enough. Hang on, this will not win. How do I do this? How do I do this? He can play rook c7 here, which is kind of funny. Yeah, well spotted by my opponent. Yeah, that was quite clearly misplayed by me. I will continue for a bit because I can still create some issues for him. I don't think anyone would actually offer a draw in this position. Rook e7 draws. He should have gone rook e7 there. That I think may be a... Oh, hang on, he's still in time with this, yeah? Is he? Well, I could lose on time as well, but I think I'm actually winning now. Yeah, or maybe not. Yeah, this is a draw. Okay, probably, I guess I could have just kept the queens on here. I could just play queen d2 and continue with the queens on, but what I missed was, my plan was to go rook bf1 here, and if he goes rook b8, b7, now I thought I can play rook g5, and then I realized that my pawn on b2 is always hanging the moment the rook leaves. So I was forced to go for a very different endgame. And then, well, clearly blundering rook c7 is not great here. If I want to play for a win here, I need to be smarter. I need to probably play something like a4, he goes king h7, and something like maybe rook b6 followed by rook b3. And maybe I win a couple of tempi compared to the game. But I'm still not sure I'm winning. I would need to actually think about this for a bit. Anyway, well played by Beast. I think I was worse out of the opening, but then I think I was close to winning, but he defended quite well. Yeah, Grishuk is a genuinely funny guy, and what I like the most about him is how dry and deadpan his delivery is. If you watch those videos, the best thing about them is not really. I mean, the jokes are good, but the delivery coupled with the accent and he, you know, the way he looks and everything is just such a complete picture, which is why those videos exist, because, you know, it's just so hilariously funny. Yeah, I had a feeling that even without the c-pawn, some of these positions are just drawn. So yeah, Beast is correct on that subject for sure. No, I mean, part of the attraction of those videos is his English, which is good, but not like, you can't say his English is very polished. Yeah, this is not a very interesting game, but it's not really my fault. You're supposed to play c3 here. This is still a theoretical position. There's some stuff going on here, but I mean, if you give me a full piece, I should be able to win, I assume. I would like to think so. Actually, I don't like bishop d6 at all. I don't know why I made that move. Well, this makes it a little bit better. But if he castles, I don't know why I played bishop d6. Well, Beast, I mean, I have access to, well, sort of an access to, and actually I blundered knight c4. I'm just, yeah. When people give me full pieces, I get distracted. I have access to admin information, so... I do know. I'm not gonna say, because I'm not really supposed to know necessarily, but I am, you know, a kind of an admin here. No, not MVL. And I'm picking this challenge because I'm choosing to think that this screen name is a clever play on the whole cartoon thing. It's just 24 the next Facebook. No. And that is slanderous, and if you say that again, we will choose punishment here. You search YouTube for Grishuk Thug Life, HHHH. Please, Peter, make Cthulhu rotate soon. Yeah, I don't think Cthulhu is necessarily the problem with the current meta. So I don't think this is what we should be worried about. Why would I live in Spain? I mean, there's nothing wrong with living in Spain, but what would give you that idea, Crazy Mike? Do I support public ownership of Facebook? I am not and never have been a member of the Communist Party. I don't really understand how public ownership of Facebook would even work, to be honest. Black's problem in this position is this bishop on e6. If he somehow manages to trade it off, he will be much happier, which is why I'm very seriously considering playing g4 here, just to stop bishop f5. It's probably not the greatest idea in the world, but Not the best TV series, The Left Nut, but it's decent. Yeah, I have watched the first 2 seasons, I think. No, you cannot really say it's the best TV series ever. There are flaws, but it's very good. What I'm doing here is fraught with positional risks, but I really dislike the idea of allowing bishop f5. He probably wants to go knight e4 at some point, so maybe I should actually actively start fighting against it. But I also maybe need to play f5. I don't know. It's confusing. I would like to go knight g3, but then he can play knight g6, and I no longer have f4, f5, because the queen from c7 can go to g3. And f5 in this position feels a bit early, which is why I'm kind of half settling on queen d2, but I'm not very happy about this choice. I have not watched Absolute Power of Stephen Fry. I'm a dedicated Stephen Fry fan, but I haven't seen everything he's been doing these years. I'll put it on the list, some wisecrack. Thanks. Yeah, and once again, if I play knight g3 here, he still has knight g6, which is very annoying. The knight gets to good squares like h4 and so on. Yeah, you get the feeling that I just misplayed this opening completely, but such is life. What's my favorite series? Well, it always was, and I guess always will be, The Wire. Of the current stuff, I mean, we discussed this with Jan recently, that somewhat surprisingly, it no longer really feels like TV is anywhere near as relevant as it had been for a longest time possible. And you actually have to watch movies these days to stay in touch with the zeitgeist, if I'm using that correctly. Like the biggest recent series to have come out, I think, are supposed to be Altered Carbon, and I'm not even sure what else. Like, people were raving about Altered Carbon, and then I watched it and I thought, okay, it started well, but they clearly didn't know what to do with it afterwards, which is the biggest problem with many series. They have a very good premise, but they have no idea how to run with it. And yeah, it's underwhelming. I gave the f5 pawn there. It wasn't a blunder because I have knight h5 play against all of it, but the biggest issue with this position is how to make progress. But once he goes rook d8, I have this additional option, which might be very strong. I like the Americans. Some of the Russian characters almost seemed human. Yeah, I know what you mean, Mr. Dodgy. What did I study in university? Did you just assume my education, some wisecrack? I did not actually graduate from university, and when I did study, and that wasn't for very long, I studied economics. But it was basically putting me to sleep, which is why I gave it up with no real regrets. Just one match and $10,000, but you're wrong about the cricket is dead. I could have been a contender. There are penalties. I mean, this transgression exists in the code. He is not the first person to have done this, and it's written into law that basically it's 5 penalty runs and a fine. They weren't even given 5 penalty runs. and he was fined. And I guess because of other disciplinary problems he may have had previously, which I think he probably had, yeah. So he gets a one game ban. This is, I think, like, the rules are there for a reason. You cannot just suddenly decide that because I don't like Steven Smith more than anybody else, I will, you know, ban him for 3 years or something. There is a code of conduct, and there are the laws of cricket, and you apply them. And I'm pretty sure this is what they did. And it does not mean that cricket is dead. Well, no, you definitely get banned in cricket as well, but not for ball tampering. If he fixed matches, he would get banned for life, I'm pretty sure. It's all written in the code. You cannot compare cheating in chess, which is basically absolutely ruining the integrity of the game, to what did Dubov do here? You cannot compare cheating in chess, which is, you know, giving yourself a, you know, tremendous unfair advantage, to what Smith has done. There's just, I mean, the things are on completely and utterly different level. So yeah, he gets fined and he gets a one match ban. I remember Dubov played bishop g4, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do after 95, so I'm just making basically the first move that came to mind. Okay. I'm not sure about knight e5, because now h5 is extremely annoying. Maybe knight f6. No, knight f6 were there. I should have played h5. Why did I not play h5? This is just so ridiculous. And my opponent should have immediately played h5, because I put a piece on e5 and the bishop on g7 has no squares. Not playing h5 there is just a criminal offense. If you play the 5h4 Grunfeld, basically, where's my mouse? The moment you get an option to play h5, you should play h5 immediately. That was really horrible from my opponent. No, I did not watch Icarus. How often do I come to Australia? I haven't been to Australia yet. I'm definitely planning to do it at some point. But it's a very long flight, and with the kids, it feels like, you know, you take 2 days to get there, and then by the time you've acclimatized, you have to go back. So we never felt particularly comfortable just taking the journey, but it's very much something I would love to. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of their cricket team, and I have not been a huge fan of the cricket team even before today. But Australians in general and the country, by all accounts, are, you know, very nice. So would love to do it one day. Not that easy for me to make progress here, because this knight on f4 is still sort of constantly in the way. I would like to take on d3 and push e5, but I have a feeling he will actually take with the queen. And if I go e5, the knight lands on d5, which is not something I want to allow. But let's check. I mean, I have too many knights. Yeah, okay, this is a lot better in terms of what I want to achieve. White is still fine, but this is a kind of a structure I was aiming for. I need to do with this bishop g5 motif, though. How do I want my pieces to be positioned is the big question here. Maybe I can just... I don't like... If I go f5, the immediate bishop g5 doesn't worry me very much. But if he takes on f5, rook takes gives up the e4 square, which is not great. Yeah, this is a weird move, but I'll stick with this for the time being. Yeah. I know what you mean, Dodgy. And yeah, actually I think maybe I just overestimated my position here. It's not great at all. I should not have taken on d3. It was a mistake to take on d3. But what to do? I'm trying now to, yeah, and okay, if people blunder huge big chunks of material against you, you will do well in chess, but Queen c2 was obviously a very large mistake. And that was sort of the point of Queen f7, so it's one of those cases where your opponent just decides not to pay attention to what you're doing, and it immediately costs them a great deal. Like if you just play, I don't know, c5 here, it's very, very difficult for me to build any kind of an initiative. And yes, I get the d5 square, but then you just play queen e2, or maybe even f2, f3, and you play for queen b3. And I could be just strategically busted because this knight on c6 is so stupid. Okay, so we are sort of an hour and a half in, but because I started late, I think maybe I'll play until 4 and then I'll be on my way. One more lower rated challenge. No, you played well, Captain. Apart from, I really think you should have played h5, and obviously after that, all the way up to the horrible Queen c2 blunder, you played really well, so yeah. It's a case of one mistake really ruining the game there. Who would be your favorite person to discuss Grunfeld theory? I don't know, I don't go in for, you know, too much Grunfeld theory discussion in general, but I never actually talked about the opening with Kasparov. I played it against Kasparov once with black, it didn't go well, but I never actually sat down and discussed Grunfeld with him properly, and that would have been a fantastic education for me because, you know, no matter what you think I've done for the opening, without him I wouldn't have started to play the opening. Can I suggest where to put your light squared bishop in French? Yeah, that problem existed for a while, and I don't think I will be able to give you a solution which you are not aware of already. I don't know if I should start by playing before here, because I'm kind of constantly worried I will blunder knight a5 in some position, but generally I think before just gives black targets on the queen side, so if at all possible I would like to avoid doing it. No, I started playing the Queen's Gambit. My first stable opening with black against 1d4 was Queen's Gambit declined. And not the kind they're playing right now, the kind where the Tartakover Makagonov Bondarevsky. The bishop e7, castles, and then b6, bishop b7, this type of Queen's Gambit. And I had decent results in it. But that was because I was a reasonably promising junior, not because I was getting particularly good positions. And then when the Kasparov-Karpov matches started, and I started, getting sort of my first second-hand experience of just how exciting Grunfeld can be, it just immediately felt like a very, very perfect fit for me because of my play style. And so I've been playing Grunfeld, more or less exclusively Grunfeld, from the age of maybe 12-ish, I want to say. And here I'm very much hoping to give mate because of how strong this bishop on c4 is. And yeah, well, bishop h7 I will not give mate, but I will be significantly better because of all the progress I've made on the king's side. And yeah, those press conferences are gold. H. You can see why people created the video collection, because those press conferences are absolute comedy gold. I missed knight a5 here. Bishop d2 was just a mistake. If he goes knight a5 here, I might be worse. Which is saying something in this position. You really should not be worse here. And it was important to start with knight a5, because now I might be in time to restructure my pieces and the bishop doesn't get collected by the knight. What is Morozevich up to? I'm not entirely sure. He does some teaching. One suspects that he teaches business people of some sort. And he is also very actively involved in the Go scene in Russia. This cannot possibly be right for a number of reasons, the biggest of them being that I win material by playing bishop g5. Do I? Oh, I missed knight d4. Yeah, if he plays knight d4 here, I will be forced to... Yeah. This is a very poor sequence from both of us. I kind of automatically assumed that f5 was a blunder, and I made the first move that came to mind, and actually after knight d4... Sorry, I will show it after the game. The book I'm currently reading, I'm currently doing two things in terms of books. I'm listening to the Blood Meridian, and I am reading the third book of the Hyperion Cantos, the Endymion. I just started Endymion. Finished the fall of Hyperion here during this trip. The Go scene. You know the game Go? I think I'm supposed to say Go and not Go, because it isn't an English word. It's an Oriental word. So I think it's Go and not Go. And here I should have enough of a mating attack to win reasonably comfortably. Yeah, Hyperion Cantos is very good. It's kind of a miracle I haven't read it until now, because it's the absolute must read in the field of sci-fi. Last 3 chess books I read, that would be harder, because I don't read very many chess books these days. I bought some Nagy opening books and I enjoyed them a great deal, and I also read the Boris book. I keep on raving about the Boris book, but it really is very, very good. So yeah, those. So just to return to this, f5 is just a horrible move positionally, and I think I should just take. And once again, just giving me the e4 square for the queen and opening up this diagonal is wrong. But after bishop g5, if he goes knight g4, he attacks my queen on e2 with check. So I cannot really ignore it. Which means I'm more or less forced to go for this position. And now something like ef5, he takes on d4. And it really is anybody's game, because look at how monstrous this bishop has become. So bishop g5 was a very, very large lemon there by me. I did read the entire Dark Tower. And I enjoyed it in the beginning. And then I thought, Stephen King is really, really full of himself. Once, you know, the whole conversation started turning around the character called Stephen King, I felt this is still very readable, but that Stephen King guy, he doesn't half think well of himself. And that kind of turned me off a little bit. I think I'm supposed to go d5 or switch to... Let's play normal Sicilian. I'm done with the whole knight of 6 malarkey. Yeah, I don't follow him on Twitter. There's just, you know, so much ego you can manage on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not sure I will be very impressed with Endymion, but the thing about me and books is that I generally end up reading the entire series. Whatever I'm reading, I end up reading the entire thing because I don't like the idea of stopping midway. I think if I go b5, I am supposed to know a little bit of that theory. And I don't. Which makes me think that it might not be the best idea to enter it. Why do I always do this to myself when people play the bishop g5 lines against me, is the biggest question of all. Okay, let's try and... I mean, it's a 5-minute game. Let's try and figure this out. e5, bishop b7, queen h3, g takes e5, knight takes e6. I'm sort of aware the line exists. I have no idea what the current standing in that line is, and whether I'm supposed to allow it or not. Which I think is a very large drawback for somebody who is playing the Nidorf. So yeah, queen g3? No, this I'm a lot less worried about. I'm pretty sure it's queen h3 followed by knight takes e6. And it might just win. Could very, very easily be completely winning for white. This could also, I don't know, I don't really know the theory of bishop g5 Nidorf. I don't generally play the Nidorf very much these days, and even when I was a Nidorf player, I very carefully avoided playing it against people who were playing bishop g5. So I was never that booked up on the topic. Now this also looks more than half decent. But at least I have time to try and figure this out. If I go rook c8, I think he's planning to go bishop d6, and it's annoying me because I don't really see... people who know say that it's more than half decent. Okay. As mentioned, I mean, my knowledge here is non-existent. I'm basically doing this to test myself, to see if I can survive playing positions like this against people who actually know what they're doing. If the answer is no, I will not be surprised, but you have to give it a shot. How do I manage to concentrate on chess while my son is playing piano? You see, you made two assumptions there. You made an assumption that I actually work on chess when I'm at home, and you also made the assumption that my son actually practices piano a lot. Both of those assumptions are somewhat mistaken. I have knight e4 here, but he can just take on c5, knight g3, bishop takes f8, and I have a feeling I will not come out of this with as many pieces as I would like. I don't play shooters, but I play strategy games, the left nut. Or at least I try playing strategy games, and then I get stuck and I get depressed and I stop. On the subject of my son practicing piano, he is definitely my son in terms of work ethic. In terms of natural talent, he is, I mean, as the Big Bang Theory quote goes, we've had him tested. He is potentially a very, very good pianist. But he doesn't really like working very much. I can relate. This is a curious little move, but it kind of makes sense because he protects c2 in some positions. It might matter that you even protect g2. And it's not that easy for me to make a move here. I thought if he does something quiet like this, I could play bishop e7, but even after I play bishop e7, it's not easy for me to make a move. This could be a good move. Can I maybe do this? Hope he recycles that bottle. He might. Well, I mean, it will be in the trash. I don't know what you mean by recycle. I am currently in a country which is, you know, very well versed in the subject of different boxes for different kind of trash, so. Yeah, and here I should be winning somehow. Because I think my opponent missed that I have bishop takes e4 at the end of that variation. And that's an important detail. I should stop talking, it's still a complicated position maybe. Just concentrate on chess for a little bit. Novel idea. The threat is obviously queen a4 followed by queen takes a2. Against most moves, and Jan obviously would say challenge accepted and explain to me which moves will stop this from happening. And I understand it's not against every single move, but it's still the idea here. Am I still scared of dying to a shark attack? That was me giving a bit of a meta answer there, because this was the answer by, I believe, Ivan Sokolov in the same just checking format that I was answering to. And I thought it was funny, so I went with the same thing. I think this is a clever tactic, and I think it works, which makes clever tactics even cleverer. I obviously do have fears, but I felt like, because mine weren't as memey and are somewhat personal, I felt that going with the shark was a good way to avoid answering that question. Okay, let's not blunder knight d5, rook takes d5, yeah? That would spoil a reasonably well played game. If he doesn't resign, he probably wins on time, which is kind of regrettable now that I'm a full piece up. Okay, managed to even not lose on time. That is why he won't come to Australia, sharks. No. Okay, one last one, I think, and we'll call it a day. And once again, apologies for the late start and my struggles with the door and all that, but I'm not good with any kind of technology. Did you know that in the final position you were still winning? Yeah, I had a feeling that in an actual practical game, it probably paid to calculate, and maybe I was still winning. But I think I had 10 seconds against of 18, which in my world means I am getting flagged in about 5 minutes, 5 moves. So I thought, okay, losing it on time would be a bit careless. Did not really want to end that game with a loss on time. Felt like a waste. Yeah, I couldn't open the office door for like 20 minutes until people came and kind of broke it down for me, Burns. And this is why the show started like 15 minutes late, maybe. Yeah, it was an interesting position, G-Pawn, but I didn't see any forced wins for you. I don't know if any existed, but I couldn't see any. And I honestly think that Queen H3 is more topical in that position than Queen G3, but maybe I'm wrong. Is the office door still alive? I was told it is, and I was given back the same key that I tried to use to open it, and told to use that key to close it. So we will find out in about 5 minutes whether I can lock the office down or not. It's unclear, but I hope I can. And I have a feeling I might be playing one more game after this one, because I really don't want the Rook B1 Grunfeld to be the last experience I have on stream. If I were a Hearthstone card, what would the card text be? That's a good question, Ollie. I honestly don't know. I really liked the card that Martin Benedict created. I thought it was very much on point. I assume you've seen that. The one that says Svidler and Gustafsson 164. The stat line is 164, and the text says, talk until Kramnik stops playing. And as someone added in the commentary on Twitter, it should also say immune to silence. I've not played this at all well. I think I should have had a very comfortable position after Queen D3, and I misplayed it quite badly. And I'm probably just seriously worse now, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, Peter, discard a mouse to silence a Jan. No, yeah, there's so many ways to make plays on the whole silence theme. But I thought the original one, the one that somebody came up with immediately once Martin published the card on Twitter, was the best. The whole immune to silence. I felt it captured the flavor. Silence a friendly commentator. Yeah, there's just so many ways of doing this. Yeah, I was kind of planning to stream Hearthstone from here, but I got evicted from Jan's place. Actually, I never even, like, to get evicted you need to move in first, and I was immediately booked a hotel room. And this is the first time, I think, no, not the first time, but a rare occasion where I come to Hamburg and I don't stay at Jan's place. And that meant that I have no access to his basement studio. And streaming from my own equipment just doesn't feel like a profitable idea right now, because the notebook I use for streaming, it seriously, it dies at random intervals for no reason that anyone can figure out. I've given it to the IT people at some point, and they kept it for about a month, checking everything, and they still couldn't come up with a single explanation for why it does that. And like any half-serious streamer will tell you that starting a stream when you know that it will just sort of go offline midway for no reason, and this can repeat more or less at random at any point. It's just like, this is not how streaming is supposed to work. I did not reinstall Windows because it feels like it's a mechanical error somewhere. Some wiring comes unstuck somewhere. Because, I mean, processes run perfectly fine. And it happens when, I mean, you actually, you don't touch anything even when it happens. It just happens. And yeah, I think, you know, streaming under those conditions is a weird idea. Rook d7, I can play. I need to unpin myself and then I'm completely winning basically here. So I just need to solve a solvable problem here of how to unpin myself and not blunder anything. How often am I noticed as a celebrity in public? Not a great deal, no. And now that I played f6, I'm no longer really worried about playing rook d7 because I think rook e8 check is just one check and I don't need to be worried about it at all. And yeah, I appreciate all the tech support in chat, but trust me, I've given it, I don't really understand any of it, but I've given it to people who do, and they have read logs, and they still don't know. It really isn't trivial. Yeah, my opponent is doing quite well at confusing me greatly, but feels like I should still be able to control this. I missed queen h3 altogether, but feels like this should still be winning for me. I'm doing this slightly conservatively. I didn't really see what he was threatening there, but I just want to make sure I don't blunder something weird which ends in queen h7 mate. And generally most endgames will be also winning for me, so I'm not that worried. Like, you should probably just take on a7 here, but I can just go into any number of endgames here and I should be doing very well. Let's figure this out. Queen e5 is an interesting try, but he also has queen f3, which I'm not sure I want to allow. Like, I'm slightly annoyed that I even have to pay attention to what I'm doing here, because I think the position at some point was just completely and utterly winning. But I did not play it well from a certain moment onwards. Okay, let's just go with this. No, obviously I am still very much in control here. It's not really that. If he goes a3, my plan was to play b4. Yeah, okay, this is now completely winning because I will isolate the pawn on a2 and just go after it. And the two connected passers will always win. He should have gone a3, and I'm still winning somehow, but it would maybe require some work. I don't know. It really doesn't matter very much. More or less any move wins here. I have been to Finland for sure. At some point we, like not me, I've for as long as I can remember, because of my association with the Baden-Baden Chess Club, my Schengen visas come from the German consulate because it's the easiest way for me to apply. But at some point my entire family was getting Finnish visas because they were reasonably easy to get in St. Petersburg. And then you would actually have to go to Finland because you needed Finnish stamps. And we at some point were reasonably regular visitors, and we really like the country. It's a very nice country. All right, I think this probably is it. I did promise not to finish on a Rugby 1 kind of note, but I think this was an acceptable game, and I don't want to prolong this beyond all reason. I think it was a reasonably good stream as well, apart from the way it started. And I wouldn't mind a little bit of a rest day. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this this Banter session, and we will most assuredly be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with the 13th round of the Berlin candidates, which has not been boring even up to that point, but is now tremendously exciting considering just how many permutations of the final result are now possible, with 5 people very, very genuinely in the running for the victory. So yeah, stay with us for that. Last 2 rounds are tomorrow and day after tomorrow. And thanks for watching this. See you all. Bye.